Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL. And as you can tell from the advertising I've been doing in the last 24 hours, we have a stacked panel as well as a stacked topics list of all of the best gaming talk you can find on Friday morning. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here. We already have over, I think it's 50 people already here, which is crazy. But I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in to this week's episode of Breakfast with Boom. So let's get right into the introductions. First, we're going to start with someone that if you don't already listen to him with his weekly shows, one of which is a horror cast, and it's an amazing show. He is one of the most generous human beings I've ever come across. But besides being a generous person, he is also someone not to be reckoned with, because he will tell you to go F yourself if you get out of line. And that's what I love about him. Please welcome to the show, Wilmy Hood.
Good morning, Mr. Boom, and glad to be here and glad to be on the show with Archimedes. I haven't been able to do one with him yet, and we've got Shady here on the panel and finally got me on a morning show. So yes. Hopefully I've got my cell phones turned off, computers turned off. Let's do this, ready to get into these topics, because man, there is some crazy shit to talk about this morning.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a great show. A lot of big information. And of course, we have someone that not only is one of the biggest Star Wars fans that I personally know, he is the leader and self-proclaimed emperor of the Shesh Empire. He is someone that I've been working with on a regular basis for months now, someone that I'm honored to work with each and every week, and someone that brings it every time he is on a show. Please welcome So Shady.
Hey, thanks, Boom. It's good to be here talking games once again with everybody, including everyone watching nice and early. Thank you for coming out. Let's get to these topics, baby.
Well, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. And of course, now BitCloud was here. He had a little bit of a technical hiccup, so he should be back momentarily, but making his first podcast debut ever, which is it's a real special thing, especially if you are someone who listens to a bunch of other shows. It happened with me. It's happened with everybody on this particular panel, and probably people that are even in the chat right now, that, you know, we all have bucket lists, right? We all have things that we want to do, places we want to go, people we want to meet. And one of the things that I enjoy doing as a podcaster is being able to give newcomers a voice and to give people an opportunity to do something fun like a video game podcast. And it happened to me all those years ago with Mooch allowing me to be on Crossfire. So today I want to welcome, making his grand appearance all the way from Germany, please welcome Archimedes. What's up, dude?
Wow, Boom, what an awesome introduction. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here, and we have some great topics, and I can't wait to talk about them. So let's get this started.
Well, listen, it's great to have you on. I know we've been planning this for quite some time. The day has finally arisen, and we are ready to talk about games. And like I said, BitCloud popped out for a second, and hopefully we'll have him back momentarily. But I want to get right into the topics and why everyone has tuned in this early. First of all, in a story pulled from techtimes.com, all of the recent debated rumors about the PlayStation 5 being cheaper but significantly less powerful appear to be very true. Now, aside from Sony's tidbits of information, like the revealed specs of the new controller, the name of the device, and the dreaded logo that shocked the world, there's been a lot of information that they're still hiding in the dark. And though we've seen tons of leaks, Sony is keeping their cards very close to their vests. And it's been hinted on all of those leaks that the price of the PlayStation 5 is likely going to be cheaper. But of course, with a cheaper price comes what? Lesser quality compared to the Series X. And with Mark Cerny, who's a genius, by the way, leading the charge and leading the design team in the PlayStation 5, many things have already been kind of let out of the bag. Oh, hold on a sec. Let me just bring him in here. We have BitCloud. BitCloud, welcome back to the show, my brother.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was getting a bunch of beeping errors or something.
Yeah, well, listen, it's great to have you here. We actually just started the show. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we're going right into one of your favorite topics, the Sony PlayStation 5. Now, like I was saying a second ago, Mark Cerny is leading the charge in the design, the same as he's did with the PlayStation 4. And even though there have been a lot of things that have been kind of let out of the bag, the 9.2 teraflops and hardware ray tracing have there are a lot of people in the community that have called this into question, and unfortunately no one at Sony is answering. Now all we know for sure is Sony's chief financial officer, Hiroki Totoki, said in an interview that the PlayStation 5 price would highly depend on what moves Microsoft makes with the Series X announcement. Now, this means Sony's PS5 is planning to create a lower price for its gaming console, although don't rejoice as of yet, because IGN Japan's editor-in-chief Shin Ami was roughly translated, and he said this: the Xbox Series X will be more powerful as compared to the PS5's cheaper rates. This means that Sony's PS5 is planning to come in at a lower price to try and get more consoles into more people's hands. But at the same time, I think a lot of people who were hoping that they would once again retain that power crown are going to be disappointed. Now, he says this Xbox Series X is doubtless aiming for a much greater performance than the PlayStation 5. There are some differences in specs, and the PS5 aims to be cheaper than the Series X as a result. And this came to us via comicbook.com's translation. Now, I want to go immediately, of course, over to BitCloud Gaming. See, BitCloud, you are our resident PlayStation representative. And even though you do support multiple consoles, you are, of course, our platinum trophy extraordinaire, if you will. And my question to you, coming from a PlayStation's point of view, is look, there is no doubt that 9.2 teraflops, if that winds up being the final specs, maybe they can overclock it, maybe they can bring it to 10. I'm not sure. I'm not a tech guy like that. But I want to ask you, from what we've heard as early as this morning, it has been rumored that the cost to make the PlayStation 5 is $450 US. Right now, it's highly unlikely Sony's going to take a $50 loss. What it sounds like they may be doing is coming in at $450 US. And obviously, the Xbox has been rumored to be coming in would be $50 cheaper at $500. But the significance in power doesn't seem to add up for the $50. Do you see Sony actually taking that $50 loss on per console, which they've done in the past? Let's just be honest, that all these companies have done that, to come in at that magic $399 to move this hardware, and they do that to kind of like move the I guess the eyes away from it being less powerful, but it's more affordable.
Yeah, I think either side really would take a loss just to prevent the console from hitting that $600 price point.
Yes, absolutely.
Nobody's paying $600 for any next gen console.
No.
Even if they had the power advantage, I just don't see, that's just too steep of a price. I mean, you're going into PC territory with
Yes.
$600. So I don't think Microsoft could even afford to take that $600 drop at all neither. So I don't think Sony would I wouldn't put it past Sony at all to take a loss on this. And it makes sense to take a loss, really, because that's not something that's like hasn't been done already, right? We've seen that numerous times where they take a loss on the hardware at the start and then they make their money back through software sales. And then, as the manufacturing goes down, then obviously they make full profit off of the systems. So again, I can see that for sure. As far as like them not saying a word and whatnot, yeah, keep in mind too, the whole thing with the coronavirus is going around. That's like a big thing that's being like reported. Supposedly manufacturing could very well be affected due to this.
Yes.
And that's another thing that's going around. So again, I'm not really, I'm not really like, I don't fear anything at this point. I don't think they're in trouble at this point, but I do think it's just a lot of elements that are playing a factor into why they're silent right now. I do expect a lot more in the coming months, and that's what Jim Ryan said. Expect more
Yes.
in the coming months. So, right now, the best way to go about it, and the best way I'm looking at it, I'm thinking maybe March you'll get something. Usually I would say I was all in on February. Obviously, we were all in on February, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen just off the fact that the coronavirus. So March seems more feasible at this point. If you don't get anything at March, then I don't know, But
Well,
that's
I
what
mean, the further they get away from this again supposed it's February event, the closer they get to E3. The closer they get to E3, the more information we're going to get from Microsoft. And there is rumored, there has been rumored for quite some time that Microsoft themselves would be doing an event in either April or May, and I think that would actually be smart because they could use E3's stage
pretty
as
much
to be games.
Yeah, that would be the smart approach for them, would be to do that strictly for games. Have the third party be there, and then sneak a few of your upcoming titles that you're working on in that
Yes.
show for sure. But it would be even more smart, obviously, just to get the specifications,
Yeah, get all that tech talk out of the way.
the architecture and stuff like that out the way for one show, kind of like what we saw from Sony back in February of 2013.
Yes.
Do something like that for sure, and then focus strictly on your games for E3. So I can definitely see that, and I would hope they would do something like that. As far as where PlayStation's at, I'm expecting more very, very soon. I'm just not really, what I'm saying, it's hard to put a number on it right now of what's going on with them in Japan or in China right now.
Right.
So hard to really say. As far as them being significantly less powerful than Xbox Series X, again, because when we talked about that before too, that if Microsoft really did go all in for the power narrative, we do know that they supposedly have a higher clock GPU for Series X than
Right.
PS5, and if that's the case, then that's fine because again, both are going about it two different ways. Sony's going for efficiency, Microsoft's going strictly for raw computing power. So again, graphics will, games will look better. Obviously, third party, especially if they take full advantage, will look better on Xbox Series X. And of course, their first party will shine. Sony's first party, again, they'll shine as well. And
Well, I mean, they've been shining on a vanilla PlayStation 4, so I
exactly,
mean, it's pretty obvious that their first party games are going to look amazing on the PS5.
yeah, their strength, Sony's strength has always been in their first party catalog.
Yep,
That's
it sure
how
has.
it's always been. Like, even with they have an underpowered system, it's like they crank out these games that make you go, well, damn, if I'm getting that, well, what's the point of this one? And
Yeah.
that's the thing where they're really, really good at. So again, I'm not really, I'm expecting more. I really am expecting more. My expectation for price, $400 is what I would really think that they would.
That's what I think. That's the magic price that everybody that everyone that's been following this wants that.
Yeah, a lot of people saying 500. Like, a lot of people saying there's nothing wrong with 500. Sure, there's nothing wrong with 500, but the magic sweet number would be 400 for
Yeah, well, you know what it is when you can say $399.99.
Yeah, it
that
sounds
three
cheaper
over
than
the
it is,
four,
but yeah,
it clicks in the brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you are someone that, I mean, listen, it's just a penny, but when you can say $399 instead of $499, besides it being $100 difference, it's that three, that the first number that's like, okay, it's the cheaper console.
Yeah, and again, like I said, like, I don't even see Microsoft doing the $600 because even with Lockhart, because that's a hard sell. Even when you're thinking about
it's gonna be 500. That there's no way. I don't think anyone, Microsoft, Nintendo, or Sony, could logistically ask their customers to pay almost $600 and $650 something after tax.
And we're not even counting controllers or a game to go with it. It's like, that's too steep right now for the way things are. And I can see Nintendo launching that Pro because they said no to the Pro rumors as of late, but
right,
I can see them doing that after PS5 and Series X launch for sure. next year, more likely you'll get.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there'll be some sort of a mid-generation upgrade that brings it up to the X quality in regards to teraflops and all the computing parts that are in there, and that'll be their beefier version, just like they had with the vanilla versus the Pro.
Yep.
Well, I mean, listen, great points, really great points, and I think that you're right. I think that their strength is their first party, and they've done very well this generation, and I think they're going to continue the trend going into the next generation. And I think that they are going to be one of those companies that, even though it might hurt them initially, Jim Ryan has been public saying that they want to get this. They want the PS5 to be the fastest selling console ever. They want this in everyone's hands.
That jump, that
Yes.
move to be seamless. But also, he wants to double down even more on games in general. So again, it's like he's on the right path, and he knows what sells it, and that's what really matters at the end. But again, it's just going to come down to what's available at launch as well. Rumors going around that Ratchet and Clank is their day one.
Yes, I hope so. That'd be a great launch title.
That was going around. We got Insomniac teasing, stuff from Resistance. It's a lot of stuff, and they have a lot. They really do have the public eye right now. Like, this is like the most anticipated console for a lot of people. And that's the pressure that I would say that's on them right now, because they have so much anticipation for PS5.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a hot selling system, especially if they can afford to take a $50 loss. And again, we do have, I don't know if you want to call it confirmation, but if the story that has been run this morning, if you missed it, is that Sony's PlayStation 5 costs $450 US to make before they sell it. So obviously, this is why Sony has been waiting on the pricing of it, and I'm pretty sure that they understand that Microsoft is going to come in at $499 for their console, so they actually might be forced to take that $50 hit per console and launch it at $399 to try and again, move people's attention away from it being less powerful but also more affordable. And they're willing to, and they're willing to. It looks as if that's the route that they're going to go.
Yeah, I can see them doing it though, because they're in a better shape. They're no longer.
Yes.
In the red.
They're that much better than they were when
they're
the generation
much
started.
better. And I can see them definitely taking a small, hit like that. Even if they wanted to go bigger, they could take a bigger. But I don't know if they would do that. But I know they could take that hit for sure, especially if they got the first party games to go for. But again, cross-gen titles is also going to be a thing for both. You already know this as well.
Yes.
And them talking about the haptic trigger feedback for the controller, talking about like bow and arrows. Obviously, you're going to see Last of Us 2 be a big showcase.
That's going to be one. I guess like you were saying, a showcase for using these triggers to your advantage.
And there's talks of Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, there's so many games that are being mentioned for launch, and it's like we just gotta wait at this point. But I'm hearing Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Obviously, there were talks of Spider-Man 2 coming in 2021, supposedly.
Yeah, next holiday, supposedly.
Yeah, and so
not this holiday upcoming, but the following holiday.
So again, just have to wait at this point. Definitely have to wait. It might be the same thing with PS4 at the start, and that's common with every generation, where it starts off pretty sparse, not that much at the start for the heavy hitter consoles.
Yeah,
until a little later.
Yeah, I mean, Sony's always had that 2-year gap from launch of a console to when their first party starts to really crank them out, and it could very well be the same thing. That's why you're going to see some second and third party deals in there that are going to either be remain exclusives, like the stuff that they're doing with Blue Point. Those are probably going to stay exclusives because they're older IPs. They're being redone, and Blue Point is fantastic. Or you're going to see second party deals like Godfall.
I definitely see that, especially for third party, get certain rights or certain games to launch on them, like only for the time. They already did it with Godfall.
Yes,
with PS5. So I can only imagine what Microsoft's probably going to do with their version, like who they're signing with. Are they trying to do like something with Square Enix?
Yeah, I've heard some things behind the scene that they have a few announcements that they're holding close to their vest that are going to be those second and third party deals that they're gonna have exclusive, content or rights for at least a year, and it makes sense. It makes sense because you want to get those kinds of deals in there for your console. So when people are deciding of where they're going to lay their head for next generation, if they're not like myself buying both, they'll be able to say, well, this one has more of this, and that's why I'm going with that.
They would blow me away because like everybody keeps talking about Splinter Cell.
Mm-hmm.
It'll blow me away if they like strike the deal or work with Ubisoft to get Splinter Cell.
Well, they've had it. I mean, if you remember, it launched first initially on the OG Xbox.
Yeah, that would be
I think
smart.
they had. I think it was a 6-month gap between the PlayStation 2 launch of it, and it would make financial sense. They do have a good working relationship with Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they can even help them with pick up the with help with some financial dollars outside of the signing of the deal.
Yeah, it's either going to be that or more than likely that Assassin's Creed. I guess Ragnarok's the name of it. That's the rumored name for this one. That might be the other thing. If it's not Splinter Cell, it'll be like Assassin's Creed as a tech demo. Again, I like Assassin's Creed, but I would like to see something different aside from Assassin's Creed.
I like a new Splinter Cell. I've been wrong for 3 years consecutive, and I'll be wrong for a fourth because I'm going to call Splinter Cell once again. Even though I don't mind being wrong, I want a Splinter Cell already.
Yeah, so that's where my eyes would be on too.
Well, listen, great points as always, dude. Love having you on the panel and love what you bring to the table. You're fair with your comments. You don't fanboy, which is great. I don't think anybody that's on this show fanboys. I think that we just, we like what we like, and I think that we respect the other side of the table, and I think that's what makes this show fun. So thanks again for the really good insight. I really definitely appreciate that. Shady, I want to go to you next on this because you have been made it very public that you have no ambition, no intention of getting a PlayStation 5 simply because of you don't feel that the few games that they do put out are worth spending or investing in for $450 or $500 in the next generation console when you're already going to do that with the Xbox Series X. But my question to you is very simple. Can Sony take a loss, a $50 loss, which doesn't sound like a lot when you talk about one or two consoles, but when you start talking about millions of consoles that they're going to ship in the first 90 days, that is millions upon millions of dollars in loss. Now, of course, they're going to be making money on the back end through software sales and controller sales and services like PlayStation Network and obviously their Game Pass type service in PlayStation Now. So they are going to be making money on the back end. Do you see them coming in at $399 to move these consoles?
No, I don't, to be honest. I don't think the console is going to be the only way to play games next generation. Xbox has already got options out there with PC and xCloud coming. I think Sony's going to be doing the same thing. Same with Nintendo even. So I think the consoles are going to be for guys that, are console diehards. They're going to pay what they're going to pay for their new generation. Sony has already set the standard of launching a system at $600 with the PS3. So I don't think they're adverse to launching it at an expensive cost. If it costs $450 just to make it, then they have to ship it. Then the stores that sell it also get a cut of each console sale. So it's more than $50 a console they're going to lose if they try and take a cut. And every single next-gen console, they sell like 3 to 4 million within those first few months.
Yes.
I expect like almost 4 million sold in the holiday window there. So you're looking at like $200 million plus lost instantaneously. Yes, they can obviously make it back in the longer term on controller sales, game sales, PS Now, online, all that kind of stuff. Of course, but it's not in a company's best interest to be doing that all the time. And I just don't think Sony is going to. Yes, they're in a better financial situation than they were previously, but it's still not the greatest ever. They're not the most profitable they've ever been. They're not sitting on billions and billions and billions of dollars to do anything they want with. Like, if they're willing to lose as much money as it cost them to go and buy Insomniac, so be it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I could see the Xbox sitting at $500 anyway. So if they want to launch this thing at $450, that's already $50 cheaper. I just don't see a price drop. I mean, people say that 500 is too expensive for them, especially when you got to buy games and buy controllers and stuff. I mean, if Sony had a service with their games in it day one, like Game Pass, and if you could bring your DS4 controllers with you, like you can with Xbox, that would go away. They're just not as pro-consumer right now, I don't feel. And I don't think that the price point is going to come down at all. Like, I just don't. And yeah, like, you're right. I'm not going to buy a PlayStation this gen. It'll be the first one I don't buy. I just, you know, this generation, there's been 3 games that I've been interested in. 4 if you count Last of Us 2 coming up here. And out of those 3 games, I didn't beat them. I don't really care. I could have not played them at all, and I don't think I would have missed anything. There's so many wicked games out now. I own over 700, plus the hundreds in Game Pass, plus the almost 100 in EA Access. I have too many games and not enough time. And I'm sick and tired of paying that console premium for 3 to 4 games only. That's like an extra $100 per title for me to play on Sony. And there's just no way that God of War was worth $150+ to me, not even close. So I'm not doing it again next gen. And another big reason is because I am 100% convinced that those couple games that I do want to play that Sony will have, I'll just be able to stream them. I'll buy the game from Sony's ecosystem and they'll stream it to whatever device I want. Probably not my Xbox, that's fine, but I'll stream it to my PC or my tablet or what have you. I'll go that route and save myself the $450 to $500 Canadian minimum. But I don't think so. I think they've just been really quiet, and I think a lot of the reason is they don't have an obvious edge over the Xbox anymore. They don't have more games. They've come out and said they're making less games themselves than ever before. They don't have the power. I would be shocked if they have the price or even much of a price. They're just, I don't know, man. I think it's like a race of the tortoise and the hare, and Sony's the hare. Microsoft has been the tortoise, and Sony might have been caught sleeping under the tree a little bit here, to be honest. Maybe. We'll see. Obviously, the hype is real for this system. People are excited for it. For everyone out there who views the PlayStation brand as their main ecosystem, that's where they play all their games. There's nothing wrong with the console. There's nothing wrong with the games. It's all great. There's a lot there. But it's a third-tier system for me. Xbox first, Nintendo second. Sony is a distant third. I barely turn it on. My PS4 has been off since the first month of Spider-Man launching. Like, that's over a year and a half now since I've even turned it on. So for me, I'm done. But for everyone else out there that's excited, I'm sure there's going to be news coming soon. Everyone was convinced it was going to be in February. I'm convinced that Sony told us when it was going to happen 2 years ago, when they first told all their shareholders, look, we're laying low. We're laying low for a while. And in March 2020, this is what they told them, we will be standing tall again. So March 2020 to me is when the reveal is going to come out. They told us this 2 years ago. I initially thought they were going to pull maybe a switch and release the PlayStation March 2020 right after Christmas. Turns out they're not releasing the PlayStation, and it's likely going to be the reveal. Sony told us this stuff years ago for everyone that's been paying attention. We're laying low now to stand tall again in March 2020. So what else could they be doing to stand tall other than releasing more news, more info, and some game trailers about the PlayStation 5. So I'm excited to see what they have. I'm always excited for more games, what's going to happen. For all I know, they released something that is just so transcending, so mind-blowing, that I'm just like, oh, well, to hell with everything I've said. That one game is worth $500 to me. I mean, anything can change, but as it stands right now, I don't see them dropping the price at all. I could see it coming out at $450 to $500. These are monster consoles at the end of the day. And Sony, more so than Microsoft, I don't see them being too keen on not making as much money as they humanly can, right? Everyone says putting games in Game Pass won't make as much cash. You have to sell them at full price, only on one con. That's what Sony does. They go out of their way to make sure they try and get as much profit as they humanly can, everywhere they can. They're not as pro-consumer.
I mean, everything that you're saying has relevance, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Sony positions themselves. Obviously, I think that there are a lot of factors as to exactly when we are going to know all of this information. There are a lot of people that are saying that, well, they're going to wait for Microsoft in June. I don't think that's possible. If you are a Sony fan, that's your console of choice. That's the flag you fly. I don't think their fans would be fair for their fans to have to wait until July or end of June to find out anything more about the PlayStation 5's launch titles, launch date, games, whether or not all of your controllers are going to be able to be brought forward, exactly what is backwards compatible. Is it PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4? Is it just 4? Is it 1, 2, and 4 because they can't do 3 because of the cell technology? Who the hell knows at this point? But I think that they need to answer some questions. And I think like what you were saying, and I didn't even know that, Shady, so thanks for bringing that to the table about the March. I don't even recall that.
Yeah, that was originally 2 years ago. It was right when I got into the podcast community, actually. It was like my second RDX ever that had come out where they said, look, we're laying low until March 2020 when we will be rising high again. Like that was the direct quote. And I'd initially thought that was when they were going to maybe launch the console and pull a switch and just get it out there right after Christmas, which I think would have been a great idea. Could you imagine if the PS5 was actually launching next month? It'd be insane.
It would be insane for sure.
Yeah, they would have had a big window of time there to just push next gen-ish graphics over all the competition and stuff. But it turns out that wasn't the case. Obviously, there's no way we're getting a stealth launch next month. But I can certainly see their comments relating to when they were going to come out and tell the world exactly what the PS5 is, what it's got, how much it's going to cost, get that hype going, pre-orders go up. And when pre-orders go up, money starts rolling in. So that could be their rising high is, look, we got our all eyes are on us again, and money starts rolling in when we're not putting product out quite yet. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it's again, great point. Now, Wilmy, I want to get to you, but before I do, I have to catch up on some of these super chats. First of all, the first one of the day comes to us from a very good friend of the show. LMNOPO drops a very outrageous and generous $10 super chat. And he says this is scary. I've had Sony products always break down on me. I believe Xbox will be built premium like my S and XR. This could hurt Sony at launch. Yeah, I mean, listen, I have a nightmare story with my PlayStation 4. The day I brought it home from GameStop, it was running hot and it was running loud. And I'm like, oh man, what's going on? It got so hot that the back cord was like chewing gum. And I had to return it. Of course, it was defective. And because it was a launch day, they didn't have any more. So I got duped out of a PlayStation 4, and I had to wait almost 10 days after launch to finally get one. Then I had mine paid for 6 months in advance. Trust me, I hope that doesn't happen again, man, because I'd be really pissed. But Spider-Man drops a $5 super chat. Thanks so much for being here, dude. Really appreciate it. He says, here is $5 for Shady to buy a mop for all those Sony pony tears he has been mopping on Twitter after destroying their argument on console exclusives.
Ooh, it was a hell of a couple days for me on Twitter. I gotta say,
I saw that. Yes,
yeah, the amount of people that are seemingly here to defend having a game locked to one device only. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help gamers. It's a pro corporation move at the behest of the consumer. Like, I don't want a PlayStation. I want the game. I have to buy that console that I don't want to get the game. I consider that to be anti-consumer compared to all other third-party games that let me buy that game on any device I choose to play on, or Microsoft's current approach, which is if you don't want an Xbox, for all those PlayStation diehards, you do not want to waste your money on an Xbox, you don't have to. You can buy it on your PC, or very soon you'll be able to just buy the game and have it streamed to you via xCloud. And I think that's fantastic. And I'm just saying, hey, look, Sony's going to be doing this. And this is more pro-consumer than what they are now. If you only have two options, one game is available everywhere, the other game is available only on one device, which is the more pro-consumer, which is the more anti-consumer. But my God, did I see the damage controlling come out left and right? People telling me that it's exactly the same as McDonald's having exclusive chicken nuggets. I'm just like, look, man, I can walk into McDonald's and buy the nuggets that I want, just the nuggets, just them. That's it, and eat them. McDonald's isn't demanding that I buy a $400 tray to eat the nuggets on. They're not. So exclusive chicken nuggets and fries and Whoppers and Big Macs and Netflix having shows versus HBO is not the same thing. I can watch Netflix and HBO on whatever device I choose. I'm not forced to buy an HBO box, a Netflix box, any of that kind of crap. They're not the same examples. Ecosystem exclusives are fine exclusives tied to a single device are limiting and not as consumer friendly. That was my only point. But it was like 4 or 5 days of World War III on Twitter, and I feel like came out victorious, man. Thank you for that super chat. There was plenty of tears. But I mean, I don't know what to say. The future is obvious to me, at least. Every game is going to be streamable at the very least if you choose to on any device that you want. If you don't want to do that, they have consoles for you. So nothing's changing other than you no longer need a console that you don't want in order to get the games that you do. Win-win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great point. Real quick, let me continue with the super chats. Siku Yumi drops a $2 super chat. Thank you for being here. And of course, for your generosity. Says, boom, which VR headsets do you own top 3 VR games? Well, I own a PlayStation VR. I've actually owned 2. I bought the original on launch day with every game. I sold that a year later to get the PlayStation VR that has the HDR pass-through, which is what I currently have. And I have around 60 games, give or take, for the PlayStation VR. And I recently, during the holidays, thanks to, of course, Wilmy Hood being on this panel, he was very, very kind enough to actually buy me the Oculus Quest, which is wireless, and it is a game changer, no pun intended. I highly recommend getting this because not having any wires and you being able to literally spray paint on the floor with the controllers your area of play is ingenious. It makes using VR in a small space, because, you know, my wife and I, we live in an apartment. We don't have a home yet, but hopefully that changes in the next couple of years. But right now we're in an apartment, so you are limited to your space. And with the Quest, it gives you make your own borders. It's unbelievable. You have to see it in action. So those are the 2 ones that I currently own. And you know what? I don't want to really break down the actual games because I'll be here for an hour. But trust me, I'll hit you up privately on a DM and I'll give you my top 10. Because I have some really good ones on there. Pixelbit G drops a $5 super chat. Says Microsoft is also going for efficiency, not brute force. Let's not get it twisted. Yeah, I think that Microsoft, what they're doing is they're going to give it to you with raw power. But I think that because they're co-engineering the chips with AMD, that there is going to be some finesse in there as well. That it's not just going to be a big caveman with a big old stick, bopping gamers over the head. I think there's going to be some finesse there as well. And Sir Galahad drops a $2 super chat. Oh, I just lost it. Son of a. Hold on just 1 second. This chat is really going fast. Okay. Okay, here we go. Sir Galahad drops a $2 super chat. Thank you for the generosity. He says, I will not pay over $449 for the next console. I gotta be honest with you, man. I mean, I think that the Microsoft's box is coming in at $499, and I don't see the that. I mean, if you're willing to spend $450, man, $500, $50 more. Again, I don't know your financial situation. $50 may break somebody. I don't know, but there'll be a way to figure it out. I think it's going to be $499. I think Sony is going to try and push the envelope, come in at a $399 price point. That's what the community wants anyway. Inazo 86 or Inzo 86. Great show as usual. Haven't bought the PS4 all gen, but I'm buying one today for FF7. Yes, well, listen, congratulations on your purchase, and that's a fantastic game because I'm buying it on both consoles. Because that's one of my favorite games of all time. Face 23 BKNY, thanks for being here, dude. He drops a $5 super chat. He says, Shady, I don't see Sony doing day and date for a while. They will, on the other hand, have people double dip like Rockstar does with their games. It's possible.
It's another someone coming in like, hey, no, we want to double dip. It's stop defending Sony's corporate bullshittery and start talking for yourselves. Is that what you want? Do you want to double dip all the time? Or would you rather not have to? Like, speak from the consumer point, not what might be best for the corporation. I can't stand it.
I mean, look, I'll say this. There comes a point where, as a consumer, you have to let Sony know, or Nintendo, or Microsoft know how you feel. And if that means going on to social media and adding them, you know what I'm saying, and directly messaging Jim Ryan or PlayStation or one of their executives. Is it going to get to them? Well, shit, I don't know. But social media is a powerful tool, and the way that you can tell these companies that you're not happy is not only with social media, but you vote with your dollars. If you don't feel that that what Sony is doing as a consumer, if you are a diehard consumer of the brand and you feel that what they've done, like you feel cheated, you feel that that you've been behind the 8 ball since the Xbox One X came out and they've lost the Power Crown. I mean, you can say, well, they've had better exclusives, so I feel better there. But if you're not happy with the way Sony is conducting business per se with the PlayStation 5, then don't buy the PlayStation 5. That's how you vote with your wallet. And speaking of voting with wallets, Wilmy Hood, I want to go to you next on this because you and I are on the understanding that we've been gaming a very long time. We're the old dogs, so to speak.
Yes, we are
of the podcast today, and I'm okay with that because, like I said, I don't mind the fact. I mean, yes, I'm going to be 50 this year. My God, 50, Jesus!
Yeah, you're old.
That. Yeah, I'm old, but I can say that I have been in gaming since '78, and I've seen such a transition. I mean, I've actually seen gaming go from dots and sticks to what we're seeing now, and it's been glorious. But you and I, we're getting both consoles day one.
Oh,
we're
no doubt.
probably we're probably going to be spending $1,000 per console. I mean, you don't have to buy the games like you did back in the days with the with Xbox Game Pass, which that's the advantage. But of course, with Sony, I'm going to get a second DualShock 5. I always do, and I always get a second controller. I'm buying every game at launch, and with Sony, I usually buy the disc games. It's weird. With Microsoft, I buy everything digital. Nintendo and Sony, I buy I don't know why that is so weird that I buy the discs. Maybe because I sell them down the line. I don't know. But for you personally, as a person who owns his own business, and that's why I'm going to you now on this one, because you have your own business and you are responsible for costs and you're responsible for personnel, and every dollar spent matters because you are a business owner. Do you think, coming from a businessman's perspective, that Sony, if the PlayStation 5 is costing minimum, like off the assembly line, $450 to make, will they drop it to $399 so they can get the maximum amount of consoles sold, like Jim Ryan said publicly? Or do you see them just staying at $450 because they are more than likely going to be $50 cheaper, but also significantly less powerful? Can they afford to do either one?
I think this thing's going to come out at $499. It's going to be between $450 to $499, and the reason is, and a lot of people don't like to mention it, Game Pass really creates a lot of money for Microsoft.
It does.
Yes. PlayStation Now, I mean, I've got PlayStation Now. A lot of people, haven't jumped on that bandwagon yet. And Microsoft is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. They can afford to take a loss where Sony really can't afford that big of a hit on every console sold. Matter of fact, there were articles came out last night, which I shared with you guys from Bloomberg.
Yes.
Basically, Sony execs are saying the exact same thing. You can sell 100 million consoles, but if you don't have an attachment to that device, it's not making money. You get that initial sale, that's going to be the end of it. That's where Xbox has really got them now. And especially with this coming generation. I mean, iCloud, everything they're doing, not iCloud, xCloud just came out on iPhones.
Yes.
It's been available for Android.
My brother's been posting it because he's been trying to get me to come over for Apple for years. I won't, but he's been playing Halo, and my brother doesn't really do social media because he works a lot. But he has been on Twitter left and right explaining to the world how incredible being able to play Halo on the go is.
Yeah, it's great. And to address, because you've got a member in chat that's dying for attention, goes to New Orleans, get yourself an education, dude. They do not have the highest attach rate of any console.
No, they don't. That title goes to Nintendo.
Exactly. Nintendo's got everybody beat on that one. But the thing is, I just don't think they can take that big of a loss on this console. if they do, what is going to end up happening, there will be a lot of features cut from the console. They will remove a lot of things they've been promising in the beginning. You'll see a lot of these little exclusive things kind of fall off to the wayside. But I mean, and everybody on this panel knows, especially Shady, you can, we have a saying, all of us old timers, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yes.
You can sit and you can talk logic all day. You can show black and white proof to people. They still just don't believe it. They're not going to believe it. They're going to believe what they want to believe.
Right.
But the dude's funny. The bottom line is, I don't think they can take that much of a hit. I really don't think they can take it. Microsoft can absorb it. They're a giant company. I just don't think Sony can take that type of hit on this new console. And I personally, I don't care if it sells for $600. I'm still going to buy 2 of them. But not a lot of people are going to do it for that kind of money.
No, I agree. I agree. And I think, like I said, we are in different positions uniquely, simply because, we've been doing this for so long that we prepare. Look, I said this before, and I'm not trying to even be facetious, folks. Gaming's expensive, man, and I feel extremely privileged to be able to say that I support multiple consoles. I've always been a multiple console owner ever since even I was a kid, man. I mean, even when Sega does what Nintendo don't. I had a Genesis. I had a Super Nintendo. I didn't choose. When these knucklehead kids, friends of mine, were fighting in the on the monkey bars about which is better, Sonic or Mario, as I should say. I didn't give a shit because I had both. But at the same time, you have to make sacrifices. So I don't have any other vices. There are some people that gaming is part of their culture, but so is going out to drink with their buddies or going on elaborate vacations and things of that nature. And money goes left and right. And, when you're retired, you have to be a little bit more frugal. So if you want to support multiple consoles, you can't have 16 vices. You kind of ratchet that down to maybe 7. For me, it's always been about gaming, and that's why I do this.
Exactly.
But you and I, we're getting these consoles regardless of course.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got 300 games on my PS4 now. I've got an 8 terabyte hard drive connected to each PlayStation I own, and I've got 4 of them in my house.
Wow.
But I have 6 Xbox X's and 2 gaming PCs. So I mean, I'm a gamer. I don't care how much it costs. I'm still going to purchase it, and I'm not going to argue with anybody over it because I play games. I don't play consoles.
Exactly.
And I will never be loyal to a company that does not know I exist. So,
I mean, listen, I agree with you there, and that's a great point. Real quick, Spider-Man drops a $2 super chat. He says Sony remove content from PS5 like they did with the PS4. I hope. Well, I don't know if they're going to do that per se. I hope they don't do that. That would be pretty devastating if they did that. At least not early on. I don't see them removing anything. I think they're going to put out as much as they can to obviously attract that attract the consumer. Elemental PO drops an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for the generosity. He says, according to Bloomberg, Sony had to cut into their camera optics division just to have the DRAM included into the PlayStation 5. Sony can't take too many hits. Well, I didn't read that article. Wilmy, you sent it over, and as I was preparing for the show, I have it in the back burner. I'm going to read it after the show. That is pretty interesting, Elemental PO. Thank you for the information. And of course, Archimedes, I know you've been chomping at the bit. You're sitting there. You're patiently waiting. Now is your time to shine, my brother. Listen, the PlayStation 5 is going to be big. Okay, anyone that suggests for a second that it's not going to be a major event for Sony's fans, for Sony themselves, or for the gaming industry, you're really selling the wrong stuff. Because regardless of whether or not you like the Sony brand, whether you support the Sony brand, it is anything Sony usually does is usually a cultural event. That you cannot take what they've done this generation lightly. They have done things financially and commercially that has never been done before in gaming. And like I said, take away your hate or love for a particular brand. You have to tip your cap to what they've been able to do. 109 consoles in a 6-year span is nothing to sneeze at. The mere fact that they've had mega hit after mega hit with their first party can't take that away. But I want to say this immediately before we get out of control here. All of those wonderful things that I just talked about, that slate gets wiped clean once the new console is out. And I'll say this: the confident Sony, the Sony that could do no wrong, the Sony that had put their customers first, that was happy to say, all their unbelievable slogans, that Sony is gone. Okay, and if you don't think and again, this is not fanboying here, folks. This is a reality. Since the changeover in leadership, okay, since Jim Ryan has taken over the reins, Jim Ryan is a businessman through and through. He's not a Yoshida, okay? He's not a Sean Layden where he's going to get out there and laugh it up with the fans. That's not the kind of businessman he is. He is a businessman. He's here to make money for Sony. He did things in Europe with the Sony brand that's never been done before, and he's going to try to bring that same cold and calculated ideology to the PlayStation 5 moving forward. And that's why you don't see anything from Sony. That's why you haven't heard anything from Sony. Right now, Sony, I'm not saying that they're scrambling. I'm saying that right now, this is a different Sony. So my question to you, Archimedes, is very simple. Do you see Sony taking a hit and losing $50 per console, which would cost the brand and shareholder investors millions upon millions of dollars? With every console they sold, it would be another move into the red rather than into the black. Or do you see them either releasing at $450 or even going crazy and releasing at $499 to kind of get back some of the money they cost designing the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks ago, when all these leaks started coming out about the power of the Xbox One X, Series X, and the PlayStation 5, I have been very vocal about it. My guess was the Xbox Series S will be $299, PlayStation 5 $399, and the Xbox Series X will be $499. Over the last weeks, I have probably changed my mind, because if you see or look at what is going on at Sony right now, it is not just a change in leadership. Yes, we had that switch, very awkward switch, by the way. Sean Layden has disappeared from the earth ever since. He has. It's not just that Jim Ryan took over. They are completely reorganizing their company, their PlayStation organization within Sony. They had 3 different departments. They had that PlayStation Japan, PlayStation Europe, and PlayStation US. And they are merging them together. They've been very vocal about how that is necessary to be competitive in the future. And doing something like that brings in a lot of new management. And I'm working myself in a very big company. And whenever something like that happens in a big company, you get completely different executives in the positions that make the calls. And I'm not sure what kind of management is now sitting at Sony. And that's why I think Wilmy touched on it. The $449 or $499 is more likely, because they come out after this very, very successful generation. And the executives really have to think about it. Is it going to be the case that we won't sell more PlayStations just because we have 3 teraflops less? This is really the question here. And you and the whole panel and everyone in this community is probably thinking a little bit different, because we are gamers and we are fans of video games.
Right.
But an executive, he thinks differently. And so taking that big of a loss, I'm not sure, because they probably think that they will sell in the very beginning a lot of consoles. Yeah, if you just think about it, on the very first day of the PS4, they sold 1 million consoles on the very first day, and just taking $50 of loss in it makes them $50 million in
Loss.
as a loss. Yeah. Now, someone earlier mentioned about 4 million. Probably they calculate with 4 million. That adds up to ridiculous numbers, and I'm not sure if a new executive will make that bet. Phil Spencer is different. He was very public and open about it. He went to Satya Nadella and told him, okay, either we go all into the gaming business, or we have to leave it. And fortunately, they said, okay, we are going all in. So he has an executive staff, yeah, that is familiar with the community, with gaming. Yes. I'm not sure if that is the case right now at Sony. And as you mentioned, Jim Ryan is a completely different leader over there. Yeah, he's a numbers guy.
Yes,
and so probably my bet would be on $4.99. I'll be getting both day one anyway, but maybe they can afford that $4.99, even if they have the less powerful console. Because if they have something like back compat, and if it is only just back compat to the PS4, yeah, a lot of customers will simply move over, because, well, they have hundreds of games on their PlayStation 4. If they can take that over, yeah, then they will buy that PlayStation again. Yeah. And that is a different story for Microsoft, especially outside of their core markets, the US and the UK. Yeah. As you know, I'm from Germany, and here in Germany, the PlayStation 4 outsold the Xbox One 5-1.
Whoa.
Yeah?
Wow.
So that brand Xbox is basically not existing here. We have no advertisements at all. Yeah, if you go into a big outlet, you will find some Xbox games, yeah, in the back corner, while you see the PlayStation front and center. We have a saying here: if people really say, if they mean I want to play video games, they just say I play PlayStation. It's a synonym here in Germany.
Yeah. Well, what do you play? I play PlayStation. Yeah, I can see that.
It is, and getting rid of that is really difficult for Microsoft. They can have price advantage or power advantage. People are so familiar here in Europe, at least, and over in the Asian market with that PlayStation brand, that $4.99 is probably going to work for them. Maybe they won't sell as many as they would have sold with $3.99, but if they don't take that loss, that is still the better business decision for them. And so, yeah, I think probably $4.99 is going to be the price for the PS5.
Well, I mean, listen, you brought up a really good point. One that I don't think anyone really touched on when you broke it down to actual written dollars. If for instance, they sell 4 million units within the first, let's say, year or 6 months. Let's say 6 months for them to get to 4 million consoles. So which would not be a stretch. And they took a $50 loss. That would be $200 million that they would lose. $200 million. And I'm no mathematician, but if you are Jim Ryan, and we know he's a shrewd businessman, that's your investors are not going to be happy with that. And again, for Sony, they are going to be banking on the attach rate for games. They're going to be making so they're hoping they're going to make the money on the back game on controllers sold and on services through PSN and PS Now, as well as software sales. But could they make up $200 million in those sales? I don't know. I can't say. I'm not. I don't have a business degree, but I can tell you that this has been one heck of a way to start. I mean, we're almost an hour into today's program, and this was a great great way to start it. But I have to do a quick super chat. Let me just change the brand real quick. Bring this back up. Sin Vendetta. First of all, dude, thank you so much for being here. But more importantly, thanks for the generosity. He drops a $5 super chat, and he says this. He says, "Boom, are you saying Jim Ryan is to PlayStation as Don Matrica is to Xbox?" I am certainly not saying that, sir. Don't put words into my mouth. No, he is. Jim Ryan is no Donnie D. He's not going to tell people I have a console for you. Trust me when I tell you, he's not going to say that. But I do want to bring up the next topic, and it's one that I think there's going to be some people on here that talk about it. They're going to be excited to talk about it. And some people are not going to really care, and that's fine. I care. I'm one of them. The Last of Us 2 there's no doubt that in some people's minds is already been donned Game of the Year 2020. And for good reason. First of all, it's Naughty Dog. I mean, what they do with their games is second to nobody. I look forward to everything that is a production from Neil Druckmann and that amazing team over there. And I'm expecting an incredible told story with loss and gain and high emotions and incredible graphics with The Last of Us 2. Now, it may not be the game for everybody, and that's fine. It's a game for me, and everyone knows
it's a game for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Sony first party single player guy. It's what I live for with that console. Right now, I'm and I think Big Cloud, you'll be happy to know this. I finally got around to finishing almost all of the DLC for Spider-Man. I'm one suit away from the platinum. One suit. So I'm working on that right now. So I should have that platinumed hopefully by the end of the weekend because I loved Spider-Man. But The Last of Us 2, what's interesting about this particular topic that we're going to bring up right now is that PAX East is coming up. Now, if you don't know what PAX East is it's a fan event. They have quite a few of them throughout throughout the United States. I believe there might be even one outside of the U.S. You have PAX Prime, which is in Seattle. You have PAX South, which is I believe in Texas. That was recently added, and PAX East is in Boston. PAX East is an event. It's a great fan event, and I highly recommend that if you can get to that event, that's a great event to get to because it is really a lot of fun. I've been to 3 of them. Usually, my brother and my 2 friends that we get together once a year for our game of the year dinner. That is very nerdy but fun for us. We usually go. I haven't been in a couple of years, but it's a great time. Well, thanks to a story that I pulled from comicbook.com, Sony has announced that a 1-hour demo, brand new, never before seen footage called The Patrol, will focus on Ellie and Dinah dealing with the infected roaming on the outskirts of Jackson, Wyoming. And that demo, folks, is going to be playable on the freaking show floor, and that's a big deal. And if you are going to be attending this event, you can go and book your spot by downloading the PlayStation Experience app and putting your name in to play the game, which is pretty dope. Now, naturally, there's hope. And I'm throwing this out there. I didn't hear this anywhere, but I'm putting this out to the universe. I am hoping that PlayStation Plus members will get this demo next month. Again, I haven't heard anything. I want it to be clear. I don't want anyone to be like, you know what? Boom just said next month it's coming. Hold your horses. I'm putting it out there to the universe. Hopefully, it makes sense that they would release this demo before the game. Hopefully, it comes out next month to all PlayStation Plus members. And obviously, I would love to play this demo. This is indeed big news, though, for fans of the series that some are, again, calling Game of the Year 2020. And I am going to say this, with The Last of Us releasing on May 29th, it's going to be one of the biggest games for Sony closing out this generation that saw them sell 109 million copies. Now, BitCloud, I want to go to you next on this because I know that this is probably going to be a big topic on your show that you're going to have today, this afternoon, which is a great show that everyone should tune into. For you personally, this is a demo that no one has seen before. This is something that's going to be new, but what's important is this isn't Neil Druckmann or his team playing it. This demo is going to be put out there for the public, for public consumption. That's a really, really big deal. And what better event than PAX East to drop this at? For you personally, what are you expecting from this demo? And are you excited for The Last of Us 2?
Well, obviously I'm excited. That's the game of the gin right there for me. That's gonna be there for me. But see, there's so many questions I got for Last of Us Part 2. Again, there's so many theories going around. Certain characters, are they gonna die? Is the end
God, yeah.
There's a lot. I personally do see certain characters like officially being done. Because like there's only so far you can go with some of them. But with them coming out and saying that the game is going to be rated R and it's going to have like nudity and whatnot, right? They confirmed that not too long ago. I'm expecting some pretty insane stuff for this game, for sure. Like what they're going to be tackling. One thing they managed to do with Ellie in the last one, they pretty much not only did they put you in the shoes of her, right? Like you see where she's from, you kind of like bonded with her, but you also got that fear type of thing, especially when you're in that scene with David.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about that crazy.
Yes.
So I think they're really gonna play on now that she's an adult. They're gonna play on even more like serious tones now with her now. And again, I'm hyped for it. This is definitely the game that I'm waiting for the most. As far as you beating Spider-Man, that's what's up. I just did.
I beat Spider-Man back in September of 2018. I just never got around to getting the platinum and getting through all the DLC. Right now, I'm just cleaning up some side missions to try and put that together.
That's good. See, me personally, Death Stranding took a lot out of me, and I platinumed that. No God.
Yeah, I'm like 60 or 70 hours into it. I had to take a break. I had to take a break.
That's a lot of hours in that game. But
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
To get back on Last of Us Part 2. If they're this confident where they're opening up to the public like this for the demo, obviously this game is going to be bigger than there's a lot to it than we're thinking. Like there's going to be a lot longer.
Yes,
for sure. And since next gen is around the corner as well, and we know we're going to get enhancements, and it's going to be taking full advantage of the new controller and whatnot. Again, I can definitely see why they would open up to the public just to give you an early glimpse. And then when you finally see how it looks on the new consoles versus the base consoles and the Pro, then you'll be
that's a great question. I'm glad you bring that up. Do you think they're showing this on PS5 hardware, or they won't make mention of it? This is going to be running on a PlayStation 4 Pro.
Definitely going to be PS4 Pro to get your eyes adjusted. So that way, when they announce that PS5, it will be that much more impactful for you. You know what I'm saying? You see the whole big jump type of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, why show it on the 5 now? I'm sure
that makes sense.
Make any
focus.
Sense.
Yeah, that's something you focus on, like a separate event for Sony, where like they zoom in. Probably they were showing the old guy at the start of this gen, where they were doing the play demo. They were doing all that stuff, that type of thing. I could see them doing that.
I'd be shocked
if this man that I just brought up on the screen dies. I'm going to be devastated. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah, like me personally, I'm not sure. Like it feels like
so
it's his last run, don't it?
Trailers, you have no idea what's going on with this guy.
Yeah, it feels like this is his last legit run. I don't know. Like he's not unless they're gonna like go with flashbacks. And you play as like a younger him in time.
That would actually be really cool. Listen, I'm looking. Look. Let me just say this right now, folks. Look, I understand that PlayStation may not be a thing. I understand an Xbox may be your thing. I understand that maybe Nintendo isn't your thing. But if it's not your thing, it's someone else's thing. And don't be that guy or gal that because someone has a big cheese smile on their face because of game X, to be the one dumping on it because because of console wars. Just let people enjoy what they enjoy, and I say that because I see a lot of it, not so much in this chat, which I have to say is great. The folks that I attract to these shows, I don't know if it's because I'm putting out good vibes to the universe, and in turn, it's bringing people that just enjoy being happy and gamers. Yeah, you can have your strong opinion, that's fine, but we have an incredible, very welcoming chat. First of all, by the way, we are almost at 400 people watching a breakfast show, a gaming breakfast show, and that's shattering numbers left and right. So I cannot thank you enough. If you are new, welcome to the show. If you're enjoying yourself, I highly recommend that you hit that like button. I'd love to get 200 likes before the show ends. That would be a big deal for this little podcast. And again, I say this, and I don't say this in jest. If what we're doing you don't like, I highly recommend hitting that thumbs down button. Get into the comment section. Tell me why you hit the thumbs down button and what you didn't like, and maybe we can address it, because obviously I do take criticism very serious. I work real hard on these shows. I want to make sure that if you're coming here, regardless of what flag you fly, you're enjoying yourself. But great stuff, BitCloud. And obviously, thanks so much for you always keeping it 100. Definitely appreciate your PlayStation prowess that you bring to this program each and every week. And I'm looking forward to see what you're going to be talking about on this afternoon show. That's going to be a big deal, as always. Wilmy, I want to get to you on this, because obviously you yourself, you just said it. You're excited for this. You can't wait to play it. For you personally, are you excited that they're bringing this 1 hour demo? And like Big Cow was saying, the Naughty Dog must be ultra confident to put out an hour demo called The Patrol at a public event as big as PAX East.
Man, I don't know if I want to play the hour, because it's going to make me want to play it even more. But yeah, I mean, like you, I've already got the collector's edition ordered. I'm just waiting for that to come in.
Going to, but man, I don't like I have the statue. I have the original statue from the PlayStation 3 collector's edition right above my head, where Ellie is standing with Joel. And that one's nice. I don't like the guitar playing one, man. I was disappointed.
I've got a gaming problem, but I have to have these collector's editions, and I pre-ordered this game, man, the day it became available. And matter of fact, I was on my PS4 last night because I bought Dreams, I think it's called, and
I want to get
other
that.
games.
It looks interesting for sure.
And I was clicking through my library, just double checking to see how many days I had left. I think it's like 104. But I'm really looking forward to this game, man. I want to dive into it. I really love the first, and I played all the DLC, and I'm not going to do any different with this one, man. I'm going to bury myself in it for a weekend. Maybe longer. Let's see how long it lasts.
This is going to be a big game. I think this is going to be a 30+ hour romp, and it could be longer. See, like for me, I like collectibles. I like taking pictures and posting them on social media. So I don't do your normal. I don't plow through these games. I don't
know.
I go looking for
every little collectible.
Yeah. Me too.
Yep, you have to go through them. You have to find every little thing, man. It's OCD at some point.
It certainly is. Well, I mean, listen. Again, the collector's edition is nice. It's just, man, I just wish it would have been. Someone had sent me a picture of her statue with holding a machete in like a wooded area. That I'm probably going to buy because that looked badass. I don't know how much it's going to be. I buy all the collector's editions for Sony. I have them all. I really do. I love their first party stuff. The only one I didn't buy was Death Stranding. I didn't have any understanding to why I was going to get a baby in a jar.
I've got the BB, man.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'll throw it out there to the universe right now. Because if I could find one like super cheap, like sometimes I go into GameStops and they have like collector's edition, they're like 80% off. I wouldn't mind buying a BB now because I understand what it is. And I would put it on my shelf. It would look weird, sure, but at least I would understand what the BB is for. Before I was like, I don't have any connection to this thing. I don't want the collector's edition. But the Ellie playing the guitar, I guess it's okay, but it's not what I want in the collector's edition. But yeah, hey, listen, great stuff as always, Wilmy. So shady. Listen, I'm gonna get to you in a second. Let me just catch up on some of these super chats. Calc Joe drops a $5 super chat. He says, "The Last of Us 2 demo only coming for PS Plus shows how poor PS Plus has become. $60, no multiplayer game, and the most is 2 games and an occasional demo." No. Well, first of all, I threw that out there. No one is saying, Sony is not saying that. Please don't misconstrue. I'm saying that it would be something that they would do, sure. For PlayStation Plus members, it's something they can put out there to kind of push the envelope of people signing up for PlayStation Plus. You can play the demo. Would it come to everyone? Probably, but I'm just throwing that out there. So just want to throw that out there that Sony themselves has not said that. So don't get bent out of shape with Sony just yet, unless they in fact do that. And then of course you can get mad. Elemental PO drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. It says, "At So Shady, let's get a welcome to all of the zealots out there." And Shady, we're going to get to you right now. And Xbox Battlegrounds drops a $5 super chat. Thank you for being here. And of course, thank you for your generosity. He says, "I love how well organized your podcast is your podcast. Keep up the great job, brother. Best wishes from the Xbox." Well, thank you for saying that, dude. That's very kind of you. Yes, I do I want it to be a great show. That's why I try to set it up the best way I can. And I constantly change the pictures, and I'm adding some production value to everything. But thank you for the compliment. So Shady, I want to get your opinion on this. Now, obviously, we saw late or early last week, depending on your time zone, that Sony is looking, well, not so much Sony, that Naughty Dog is looking for people with PC prowess to bring into the team. Now, that told us immediately that The Last of Us 2 was more than likely going to go to PC. Now, is it going to go day and date? No. The answer is probably not. But it would make sense for Sony to see the success that other companies have had, Microsoft more specifically, when you put their games now that are on Steam, they're getting more sales from the PC crowd, and it looks like Sony will eventually be putting all of their games on there. Now, are they going to be day and date? I can't say, but it makes financial business sense. For you personally, you've already talked about how you don't intend to buy PS5 and that you're probably going to stream it on PC. But for The Last of Us 2, is it a game? Is it a single-player, story-driven, adult-themed content type of title that you would be interested in playing on the PC if you could stream it?
Because I have a PlayStation 4, I would just play it on the PlayStation 4. Like, at the end of the day, if the console is in my house, I'm going to play games on that versus streaming. I will play native way more than I'll stream. I'm only willing to stream Sony's games next gen because there's only a small handful of their games that I'm into anyways. And everything else will be played natively on a console, likely an Xbox Series X. But this game has my attention, and it's not because of the story. Actually, the story, in all intents and purposes, has a huge chance of getting in my enjoyment's way. I find Sony's games to be overly cinematic for my personal tastes. They're pulling the control, like the control from my hands too often, every couple of minutes, even if it's only for 10 seconds, to zoom in on someone as they're opening up a chest, what have you. It's just very, very, very cinematic. They lean heavy on their storytelling for the people that are into the stories being told. I'm imagining it's incredible, right? I don't story first. I play games for gameplay first. And the first Last of Us didn't do it for me. Like, I like the violence in it, but I didn't enjoy the gameplay so much. And the story was just the story. I'm not into it. So this second game visually is absolutely stunning. Like, absolutely stunning. One of the best games I've ever seen visually. The animation system is... like, I need it in my hands to truly believe it. I do. I remember when the guys from Tomb Raider were calling out the animations on this game as being fake because it is so good, so smooth, that when they showed off everything they've showed off so far, I was kind of like, when does the gameplay start? Because this is one gigantic cutscene, how smooth it is. But it wasn't. That was gameplay, and I am extremely impressed. I can't wait to get in there and start gutting dudes out in the forest, slitting throats. I love a good bow and arrow in video games, like might even argue they're the best weapons for me, my most favorite to use when they're done right. When a bow and arrow is done good, it feels good.
It's very visceral.
Ooh, yeah, and you get that sweet like thunk sound when you hit guys, and the arrow it needs to be sticking out of dudes. Like I need to be able to walk up and see where I hit my prey. Like, ooh, that was a nice neck shot. That was a beautiful kidney shot. You know, like I need that type of stuff. And this game looks to be delivering on all those. Super violent. Graphics are incredible. The animations are, wow, my God, like setting a new standard. I'm not in on the story. It could surprise me. And next thing you know, I'm loving the hell out of it. But I'm not looking forward to playing as Ellie. Again, for me personally, when I'm thinking about these video games, when I'm imagining playing anything, I'm imagining myself in that role. I'm the guy in the F1 car when I play Forza. I'm in the X-Wing when I'm playing Star Wars. I'm Kratos when I'm in God of War. You know what I mean? I don't picture myself as a woman ever. That's fine that it is a woman that's there. It's not going to ruin anything for me, but it does kind of prevent me from being like full blown into it, if you will. I like playing my games as like a romanticized version of myself. My ideal version of myself, that's what I'd like to play as. And I've just, you know, it's obvious to anyone paying attention. There's a lot of games. It's a good thing. Don't misquote me here. This is a good thing. Women are getting much more representation in our gaming today. And a lot of our games have them as their lead character. A lot of games have choice. In the games that have choice, I choose male. In the games that don't, what are you going to do? You play as it, but I mean, it's going to affect a little bit of my immersion is what I'm getting at here. I don't power fantasy as playing as a 20-year-old woman going through the forest killing dudes. I picture myself doing so. So, hey, like I said, the story is the only thing that's going to get in the way for me, really. Otherwise, everything else looks absolutely fantastic. I look forward to playing this game. It's visceral as hell looking. It's very mature. I'm cool with that. It's not a necessity for me, but I'll certainly take it when it's around. You know, like I like when games, they do push boundaries as far as violence or content or sexuality or anything, really. I'm tired of video games being looked at as this thing only for the youth. It's a juvenile medium in a lot of people's minds. I think that's ridiculous. I just read a stat the other day that gaming as a whole grossed something like $160 billion last year, which was over double all of Hollywood and music combined. It is unquestionably the largest form of entertainment on this planet. It is certainly more than just kids playing it. I have been playing since I was a kid. Back then, games were definitely more juvenile, more aimed towards the youth. But luckily, as I've gotten older, many games have gotten older with me, and they bring content that is very mature. And I get a little disturbed when I think about some of the youth today playing some of the games today. I mean, if they got a head on their shoulders and they know fiction versus reality, it's fine. But my God, I'm just glad that some games bring the heat as far as mature stuff. And I don't even like calling violence and sexuality and language mature. Some of that stuff is actually rather immature, just to be swearing your head off constantly and everything needs to be titties and ass and you need to have gore spilling. That's kind of immature, but I know what we're getting at here. Like adult, it's adult content.
Yes.
And Last of Us 2 is certainly adult. It very, very, very much so. I mean, just looking at it, you can instantly tell that it's going to be bringing some very realistic things, both in its story, its violence, animations, everything about it is kind of pushing the reality look of video games, and that's a nice thing to see.
Well, I mean, look, let me just say this. It is continuing a story that started on the PlayStation 3. Eventually made its way over to the PlayStation 4. I beat it both on the PlayStation 4 is where I beat it first.
Oh, you went back on the 3 to beat it
again? No. You know what wound up happening is, you know, I played 3. I enjoyed 3. I played it on the PlayStation 3. I enjoyed Last of Us. I didn't love The Last of Us. A lot of the hit detection was wonky.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation 3, and I kind of got pulled out. So when it was released as the HD version, I beat it 3 times on the PlayStation 4. I could not. I played through it, loved it so much, played through it again, and then a couple of years later said, you know what? I need to play this game again, and I wound up running through it again. And there were parts that I'm like, I don't remember this for some reason. Games that really grabbed me with an emotional, charged story like The Last of Us. I like to revisit every couple of years because it's like a movie.
Yeah, a good movie. Why not watch it more than once?
Exactly. For me, like I've seen movies like, okay, this is going to be embarrassing to meet. Like for instance, when I'm sick, right, and I've been sick the last couple of weeks, when I'm lying there in bed and I don't want to play games, that's how you know I'm really sick, when I don't even want to touch a controller. Two of my go-to films is Wreck-It Ralph, because I love animated stuff, and Ready Player One. Yes, they're not the classics. They're not the Empire Strikes Back, or Big Trouble in Little China, or The Thing, for instance, or but just chill movies. I like those. I mean, they're about video games, so what could be better than those two? But those are my two go-to films. I've seen those films. Oh my God, embarrassingly enough to admit, over 100 times each.
Whoa!
Yeah, easily.
We're not even that old, which makes it more
I know,
but like way more.
I really do like those movies.
Oh my God!
The Last of Us, the first one, man, that opening half hour. I'm not going to spoil it because there's some people.
Are you talking about Story Boom? The story of the house.
Yes.
See, that's the thing with Last of Us. I find even with the sum of the crazy zealots, they can admit that the first Last of Us, it's the story that is the true.
The champion of that
oh
game,
my God, the story, right? And personally, I'm not a fan of when the story is the number one best thing about a video game. I hope that with this next game, the gameplay is.
I'm sure it's going to be.
I hope it's like spoken just as positively as the story. Where you got guys like the story is absolutely incredible, and then other guys that are saying like that gameplay is the loop is incredible. Like I want a video game to play amazing as well as have an amazing story, so be it. But if it's story first all the time, and that's what everyone hypes always, but nothing to do with the actual video game aspect of a video game, I kind of think that's a bit of a fail on a video game point only. Like it dominated story, but I hope that they just nailed the gameplay this time, and it's more than just a wicked story and a pretty game.
No, I agree, and I think that the gameplay loop, especially with the stealth imagery that they've shown, that you're gonna be able to go through an entire camp and not fire a bullet.
Who was doing that? You got to go through the whole camp and slit throats, shoot guys in the face, gut them, hang them out for their buddies to see, and they know what's coming for them. I'm like, this game, it's going to be violent when Shady's playing it. I mean, there'll be no stealth. No one's getting left alive in my gameplay. Woo.
Well, I believe it. But yeah, great stuff as always. Archimedes, let me get to your opinion on this. But before I do, I have to thank Eagles Fan 76 for the outstanding $2 super chat. He says, never owned a PlayStation, would love Sony version of Game Pass xCloud. Yeah, well, that's coming, dude. Listen, I know there are a lot of the detractors that think that that's not happening. I am telling you that it has to happen because I'll be signing up for that day and date. If I can get their first party games in there, I mean, obviously, I'm still going to buy the collector's edition of these games, so I'm going to be buying the game anyway. But games like Dreams, right, that I don't necessarily know if I want to spend $40 on, it would be in their day and date. Games, like other games that may not be the biggest, PlayStation exclusives, would could potentially be in there. Hopefully, they do have that. But Archimedes, I don't know whether or not you own a PlayStation 4 or not. You do.
I have all consoles day one.
Excellent. Very good to know. So my question to you very simply is this. Are you excited to see this demo? Because it's gonna make the news the minute that the demo is out there. Someone's gonna post it. I don't think anyone, and I don't think Naughty Dog or Sony is gonna be having a problem with that because it's free press for them. And obviously, everyone is looking forward, or most people are looking forward to The Last of Us 2. It is going to be one of the biggest games in 2020. Oh, yes. So we are getting an hour demo. For you personally, are you excited to play this game? And are you hoping that demo that people are going to be playing first at PAX East in a couple of weeks will make its way to the PlayStation 4?
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely excited for that game. I mean, The Last of Us, it was really a masterpiece. It is like it is. I played it, I don't know, 4 times, 5 times, something like that. And I will definitely going to take a day off at work when it launches.
Nice.
And I will be playing that game not only once, but for that demo. And that is my point with a lot of these gameplay showings. Yeah, I am not sure if I would watch it. I don't want to spoil the game for me. I already have it pre-ordered anyway. I'm going to play it, and I don't want to be spoiled. But on the other hand, I'm so excited for that game that it will be very difficult to resist not to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, a lot of people say it's going to be Game of the Year. I'm not sure. We have so many games this year coming out. We have Cyberpunk coming, yeah. We have Halo Infinite coming. So I'm not sure if it's going to be Game of the Year for me personally, but it's definitely one of my most anticipated games this year. And I would rather prefer a very good, well-crafted trailer, yeah, that has me excited for a story, that gives a little teaser, but seeing a 1-hour gameplay demo is probably going to spoil a bit too much for my taste.
I'm with you on that one. I like that well-crafted trailers that are like just marketing hype. When watching another gamer play, it just it doesn't get the job done for me. It just spoils things. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't mind demos. I don't like betas. I'm going to be honest with you. I try to stay away. What ruined playing betas for me was Destiny 1. Because I really enjoyed Destiny 1. I know a lot of people are like, man, you know, it wasn't great until the Taken King. I hear you, but I still love that game. And I wind up maxing out each of the classes to level, I think it was 8, if I recall. And I put so much time into that beta that when the game finally released, that first couple of hours was like, man, I got to do this all over again, but I did this already. You know what I'm saying? So, but demos, I don't necessarily mind as much. I am really interested to see what this game is going to look like. I'm sure it's going to be a masterpiece. So I'm hoping that demo does come to the PlayStation, to PSN, after PAX East is done. It makes sense that it would. I mean, they could make it, do a state of play and say, hey, listen, we have a big surprise for everyone that tunes in. You watch the 20-minute or 21-minute show. They show a couple of games, and at the end of it, they say The Last of Us 2 demo available right now, and everyone goes crazy. And it's great press for Sony, and it's great for the fans. I honestly cannot wait to get my hands on this game. And again, I agree with you there. Sometimes when you go to play these games, it can ruin it for you per se, because you want that surprise for
exactly.
you want to put on a game with I guess fresh eyes, so to speak.
Yeah, especially with those story-driven games. Yeah, I don't mind seeing gameplay for 10, 15 minutes in a game like Destiny or something like that. Yeah, but these very story-driven games, I don't want to see too much of the gameplay, actual gameplay.
Next thing you know, you're watching a reviewer like that guy playing Cuphead and Doom Eternal here.
No.
I know his name is. It's just it ruins the game. Actually ruins the game. You're like, my God, this is straight trash, because the guy doesn't know his hands from his feet while he's playing. Like, that's always a possibility too.
Yeah, don't put that guy leading the charge with The Last of Us 2, please. But listen, this has been a great topic. And one that again, we opened up the show very Sony heavy, but for good reason. A lot of great conversation within the chat, with the panel. I want to move on to some shocking news. Obviously, I'm going to bring up this man right here. You know who this man is. He is Geoff Keighley. And the E3 2020 controversy is continuing once again. And if you haven't heard, we're going to break that down. In one of the most shocking moves in 2020, E3 host Geoff Keighley has officially bowed out of the big show and even publicly criticizes the event's direction. As we get closer to E3 2020, which I am very fortunate to be going with the Iron Lords once again, I'll be giving this community live from the show floor coverage and live podcasting from LA on a daily basis. This is a shocking move. Now, do you know who Geoff Keighley is? Simply because he is the showrunner of the Game Awards. We all know that. And we also, and a lot of people did not know this, he ran an event called the Coliseum. and it was a Geoff Keighley produced event. What I didn't know, that I found out while I was putting this story together for today's show, is that he's been going to E3 for 25 consecutive years, which is pretty freaking incredible. I mean, that's older than some people in this, in the chat. And him breaking that streak and not going is really telling. And more so, it could be dire for this event. And there is a potential storm brewing between the ESA and, of course, the gaming media. Now, all this stems from last year's huge leak that came at the end of E3 2019, where thousands of gaming media journalists had all of their personal information accidentally revealed to the public. And that's right. Real names, real home addresses, real cell phone numbers, and other delicate and personal information made its way to the public by accident. Now, for the most part, I'm sure that the average gamers didn't pay much attention to the information that was out there, though this is a world packed with mean and vindictive and sometimes hurtful people that would have terrible intentions for this very sensitive information. Now, according to the article, E3 2020 was already hurting from Sony PlayStation's removal of themselves from E3 2020, just like they did for 2019. And while PlayStation themselves has also publicly criticized the direction of where the ESA is taking E3, this is another big blow, because Geoff Keighley himself, regardless of whether or not you like him, again, I may not agree with a lot of the moves that he did, especially during the Game Awards, where I thought it was going to be heavily focused on just Death Stranding. And I criticized him publicly about that. And yes, I don't think I was overly critical. I think I was fairly critical in my response to Geoff, who responded directly to me on Twitter. But I am going to say this. He is a man of the industry. He is a man. He is a gamer. He is someone that continues to push this industry forward. Now, some people in the chat, prior to going live, some people, especially on the interwebs, were making, I guess, assumptions that maybe Geoff pulled out simply because he's such a big fan of Sony and he wanted to back them. I don't necessarily know if there's any credence to that, to be honest with you. I can't say for sure. Now, would I be surprised if Geoff Keighley's Coliseum event became exclusive to the Sony PlayStation 5's reveal regarding price, release date, and launch lineup? No, that wouldn't surprise me at all. We know that he works closely with Sony. We know that is his favorite brand from what we hear. But again, because he has such close ties to that particular brand, it wouldn't surprise me if he decided to step down from working with the ESA to work exclusively with Sony and potentially put something together in or around E3. So even though they're not technically attending, they still would be showing something. Again, this is just my ideology there. I have not read this. I'm not making a public announcement saying that Geoff Keighley will have an event for Sony around E3. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's potential for that. BitCloud, I want to go to you next on this, because obviously Sony not going to E3, and we talked about this before on this show, and you've talked about it on your show. It's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. Whether or not that's going to hurt Sony, well, we'll never know. But Geoff Keighley now pulling out, I think, is a big deal. And I'm not saying it's a bigger deal than Sony. I'm saying that it's equally as large.
It's adding.
And really, the ESA, I mean, they had to make an announcement. Now, granted, there are still a lot of big time publishers coming along with Nintendo and Xbox. You have Square Enix, you have Ubisoft that's going to be there. EA is doing their EA Play that they do every year. That's off site. But for you, how big of a deal for the future of E3 is, it's going to be with Geoff Keighley now stepping down?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said the future of E3, because remember, the interview I had with Gio Corsi. We talked.
Yes, which was fantastic. If you missed that, folks, head over to BitCloud's channel and watch that interview. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, he put an interesting point with E3 in general, right? He said times are changing.
Yes.
And E3 in general, like the way everybody's moving towards digital in a weird way for their presentation, like pre-recorded events. Nintendo does directs, Sony's doing state of play now. Microsoft does the inside Xbox on the side type of thing. But honestly, when it comes to the future, the thing about E3, it's no longer being treated as like a fan service type of event anymore. It feels like it's just more corporate, right? Like in a weird
Yes,
way,
it
the way
does
they're
feel very
handling it.
corporate for sure.
Right.
Yes.
Because if they really want to go all out for the fans, they would move it around to different states so more gamers can get their hands on the games, whether it be new systems announced, new games announced, they get to experience the spectacle type of thing. That's kind of how I think Sony wanted them to go with E3, kind of like a WrestleMania approach. Move it
Yes,
around.
and you know what? Being someone that has been there, went for his first time,
Mhm.
it would benefit the event for it to be more quote unquote fan friendly.
Yes, have it open to more, have it open to more, parts. Bring it around, bring it around the globe. Then you get back to this, to the known location.
Celebrating gaming again. It's a
Right.
world event, right? So it should be brought around the world. I agree.
Yeah, and since they're talking about the direction, and of course the issue that happened at last E3 where journalists got doxxed, that was another issue. It's like it's hard to really say at this point how long E3 is going to be around in terms of I think E3 will still be around, obviously, right? But I don't think E3 will be treated the way it should be treated, where it's like the spectacle that we all tune into. This is back when, God, I remember before we even started, we had the option to watch it online. We watched it strictly on G4. You remember that?
Oh my God, yes, I certainly
E3
do.
was exclusive to G4, and it had its own TV, spot just for it. Now it's not like that no more. We all have these other avenues to watch it, and it's like, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the future holds for E3, but I do know though a lot more people are coming out saying stuff like the building's not the same. Again, these are kind of like filler arguments, I would say, right? Because it's like if it was that big of a deal, why didn't you talk about it years prior? These are kind of like filler arguments I'm hearing now, and it's like I don't really care about that, but what I do really care about is that I want stuff from the past, right? Like stuff that we grew up with to still be with us for the new generation of gamers. I do want that. E3 has always been that thing for gamers, whether you watched it for Nintendo side, PlayStation side, or Xbox side. It was always that show that you tuned into. And since, many of them are not even there hardly. Like Microsoft, sure, they got boosts there, but they're not necessarily, you know what I'm saying? Conference wise, they're like close. They're doing it in their own environment.
Yeah, the Microsoft Center. Yes.
Right. Nintendo's doing it in their own with the treehouse.
Yes.
Sony is not it's not their period. It's like, again,
it's not a perimeter thing. It's a week thing. I mean, guys could be doing it in Japan for all I give a shit, as long as I get to see new games that week when everyone else is showing new games. Like it's just a week long thing for anywhere around the world. It doesn't have to be in an event center, as all these companies approve.
It doesn't feel as important anymore, does it? It just feels like your typical thing. It's like, okay,
well, the event center is not as important, but that week is huge.
Yeah,
like if E3 week disappeared and we didn't get all those trailers and new announcements during that week, I'd be choked. I'd be super upset, which is why
you feel like you left out. And
that's right. Which is why, like myself and a lot of people are upset that Sony's not going. Obviously, Sony doesn't need E3 to succeed, but that's the week that for the last 25 years we've gotten bombshell after bombshell news, and all of a sudden one of the biggest players is not playing there anymore, and that sucks because that's a wicked week. I don't care what building they're in, where they are around the world, but I just want to see new games, and that was the week that it was going on for so long.
Yeah, and regardless if you look at it from like a fanboy perspective, like you'll say something like Sony doesn't need E3, right? E3 needs Sony. The thing is you're missing is that regardless of how you feel on that matter, E3 in general is just that's usually our week.
Yes,
That's
yes,
our
great
week.
point.
It doesn't matter what side you're on. That's your week of news. That's your week of heavy banger, content. You see the legends like Adam Sessler, who will come out of retirement just to be there on the stage. These things were the things we look forward to.
I love me some Adam Sessler, man. That guy is legit.
I mean, I'll take Adam Sessler over anybody at IGN any day.
Oh, yes, I agree.
I just respect him on the mic. Like he's more genuine on the mic. He doesn't sound like a pre-recorded, robot when he talks. He comes off the head. Even Morgan Webb. I miss Morgan Webb.
Yeah, me too. I miss that whole crew, to be honest with you. That G4 was dope, dude. It was so
better
good.
Than anything. It was the show to watch if you were a hardcore gamer obsessed with just like the upcoming news, not necessarily games, just obsessed with the upcoming like updates on games and getting the first look at everything. And when they did their reviews, Adam Sessler's reviews still to this day are untouched to me personally by anybody like from IGN or any of these publications. I think
how he hasn't been picked up to do another show is beyond me.
Yeah, I just like that. I'm telling you, man, but to stay on topic, I mean, E3, that's just there's too many.
Well, here's my question to you, coming from a Sony's point of view. Mm-hmm. Geoff Keighley just admitted the other day. This story is relatively new. It was breaking down barriers left and right when regarding E3. We're still significantly far out from it, but him going public and criticizing it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. Do you yourself see him teaming up with Sony to do a Geoff Keighley produced PlayStation 5 reveal event?
I can definitely see him working with Sony hands down, especially if Kojima's there and we're hearing Kojima's making an exclusive horror game for PlayStation. I can see him working with Sony.
Maybe they make the announcement there and then that they purchased Kojima Productions and they're now their first party, which wouldn't shock me personally. But
right, like regardless of how you feel about Geoff Keighley on Twitter, he is a great host. He does a great job at hosting shows.
He
like
certainly
the Game
does.
Awards is really well produced for what it was. I mean, if you remember back to how it used to be, it used to have like a boring format, right? It was like a normal stage. They came up, they got the awards, they made a speech, they left. Now it's more of it's more
streamlined for sure.
Yeah, it's more streamlined. It's got more acts to it. It's got a lot more stuff to it. I can see him hosting a PSX, to be honest. That'd be cool for them if they
that would be cool for them, sure.
Have them host the PSX and have Sony use Herman Hulst, because Herman Hulst is fluent in French and German, right?
Yes.
He would speak for Paris Games Week and stuff like that, like for Paris Game Week show. He'd be perfect for like that type of stuff. So I think, again, strategically wise, it will work for him.
No, I agree, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think Geoff pulling out of E3, maybe he was, obviously he I don't know if I don't think his information got leaked, but I think that he has a ton of friends within the gaming industry, the journalism industry, and what happened was wrong. Regardless of who it happened to, again, we just have to go back to the human factor. Yes, maybe I'm not a fan of IGN. I'm not. I'll tell you, I publicly say that, not a problem. I'm not going to be rude about it, but I just don't like their reporting. I just don't like the way they do things. But with that said, having their personal information put out there is a scary disposition. Yeah. Again, folks, let's not be naive about this. People are effing evil at times. Yeah. And if they want to be vindictive and they want to say some horrible, threatening things, which had happened. It was reported as happening. You don't want to be one of those journalists that gave a game a review that some maniac didn't like, and now they're threatening your family's lives. I mean, think about that for a second before saying something stupid.
How much of that is slightly overblown? I mean, we already know these journalists' first and last name. You can look them up, and in a phone book, it gives you their address and phone number. Like, come on.
Yeah, it was their cell phone number.
I get.
Social Security.
It's like, I really think that the press's problem with E3 is that it's no longer exclusive to them. The last couple of years, they've let the public in.
You know what, Shady? Let me
YouTubers
go to you
are allowed in. Yeah.
Let me go to you next, Shady.
Social Security number off of just her name.
No, you can't. But I mean,
No, I'm
that's
saying
it's the
the
start with just
important
someone's
aspect.
name, and once you start getting
Well,
their phone number and everything else after that, you can get a lot. Like today's world is scary
yeah,
in
it's
that
connected.
fashion.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
think they're boycotting it because of that, to be honest.
So Shady, if I let me go to you next on this one, because you brought up a great point. First of all, Geoff is not that. I mean, the story is Geoff is not being there, and I think it's going to have some relevance. But you bring up a point that I want you to elaborate on. Obviously, Lord Cognito from the Iron Lords podcast. I'm going to E3 with that crew for the second year in a row. We've come to the understanding, and this is just our opinion on it. What we're hoping is, of course, I still want to see all the coverage from all the big medias there, because obviously they may get access to something that someone else doesn't, so it's interested. There's a lot of great information out there, but because a lot of these big publications aren't going, what me and Cognito are thinking, and we're hoping more so than anything, is that the smaller outlets, meaning the mom and pop content creators like myself, like the folks from RDX, like the folks from the Iron Lords podcast and the Basement Radio Arcade podcast, are going to get access that we normally would not be able to get because of these other publications being there before us and having more precedence, because they're technically press. I mean, we're not press. I'm going to apply as press, and I applied for several things last year. Like, for instance, the EA Access event, I got in as press for Double Barrel Gaming. I got into the Bethesda conference as Double Barrel Gaming as press. And there were a few other events that I got into as applying for the paperwork as press. I'm hoping that with all of these publications pulling out, will give us more access. But for you just said something that I never thought of. Is this boycott, this quote unquote unofficial boycott, is it a little bit more than professional, or because the way you're describing it sounds like sour grapes to me?
For some people, like with Geoff Keighley in particular, I honestly think the main reason he's not going is because the Game Awards are, in essence, a direct competitor to E3 now. The only reason as gamers we give a shit about E3 is because we see new game trailers. Guess what we only care about when it comes to the Game Awards? The same exact thing. If they pulled the game trailers out of either platform, we as gamers would stop watching. I'm not, like, most of us aren't there just to watch some interviews with guys without the trailer being associated with it, or we're not there just to see awards being given out without new trailers. It's just not what we're tuning into these programs for primarily. I'm sure there's people that do care about who wins what award. I personally don't give a damn. I'm there for new hot trailer reveals. That is it. And with each year, the Game Awards gets more and more of them. And I think it's just in Geoff Keighley's best interest not to go to E3 and essentially do the same thing. I mean, even E3 has awards. E3 award, this award, that award.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, like, they're almost exactly the same, with the difference of, like, the Game Awards is Geoff Keighley's own thing. He started that. He profits massively from that, way more than he'll ever get from an E3. So I think it's just in his own business sense, best interest to stay the hell away from E3. It's why go there? I mean, he's not bringing anything crazy. He's not bringing any brand new reveals. He's just covering the same stuff, the same games that everyone else is covering, YouTubers included, which was my point, is that I think the press, like the IGNs and Kotakus, they come out and talk bad about E3 now. And it's not just because their shit was leaked. It was leaked a couple years ago as well, and I'm pretty sure they knew about it. It's because they're in direct competition with YouTubers now, and they now have direct access. They can go in and have the same interviews with the same people, watch the same shows, and put out the same footage. Yesterday we had the Outriders reveal from People Can Fly and Square Enix live on IGN. I think they might have had 1,000 watching. I was watching the exact same thing on Skill Up and his brother Sam, the Layman Gaming's channel.
That's a great channel, dude.
Yeah,
great
it is.
Channel.
And they had 3,000 plus watching. So
holy cow.
Some YouTubers are over 3 times as many viewers as the biggest video game website on the internet. And I think that these established media sites, they know it. Their days are numbered. More and more gamers by the day are leaving those sites and going and finding gamers on YouTube that they actually enjoy hearing from. Maybe they have the similar tastes to. They can play video games worth a damn, unlike most of these review sites do and stuff. So I think that's a big problem with the media and E3 is that they no longer have exclusive access. They have to share that access with your common man now, so they don't get all the clickety click cash. And that's what they're all about.
Get out of here.
That's what it is. That's what they're all about. They're all about that exclusive cash, and they're not getting as much of it anymore because, you know, you, me, and anyone else can get to E3 and put out the same content, arguably. So I think that's the media's issue with it. And Geoff Keighley specifically, I think it's a business thing. Like I said, the shows are so similar that why not take himself out and just try and work with the companies directly? I could see him doing a PSX because it's direct with Sony. Sony does stuff with Game Awards. I could see him being involved with Xbox's reveal at some point. Same with Nintendo. He's becoming more and more of a known entity in gaming. I've known of the guy most of my life. He's been doing gaming stuff forever. But I got nothing personally against him. He has, you know, preferences and biases like we all do. That's totally fine. But I also have to say, I think E3 isn't feeling more and more corporate. It's less corporate and more for the people. E3, for those that don't know, the only reason it ever existed was so the Searses and Toys R Us's and things like that knew what the hell was coming up, what it was, and then they could guess how many they're going to buy. Oh, that's the new game. That's what it looks like. It looks hot. We'll take 1 million. That's Toys R Us speaking. That was the reason it existed. Then the internet was able to provide video and things of that nature at a good level. So they started letting us watch it because it would get buyers hyped. But the reason E3 truly existed originally was for corporations to know what's coming up and judge how much they want to order when the product comes out. That was it. So now we actually have people off the street being allowed to come in, play these games, talk to the developers and everything. I think it's less and less corporate than ever. You no longer have to go to just IGN or just G4, another corporation, to see it. You can watch it anywhere. Watch Joe Blow YouTuber doing it. Watch IGN doing it. It's absolutely everywhere. I think it's more for the people now than it has ever been, ever. It's going nowhere. We got a lot of sour grapes going around, and Sony deciding just not to show up. And I think the reason they did this year is it's an expensive show, but that's a horrible reason. If Sony's honestly wondering about saving $15 million about doing an E3, they're in trouble. That is a very worrying sign. If it's money, I think the only reason they're not going to the biggest, like, watched, hottest game event of the year is because they, honest to God, don't have an in-your-face advantage anymore like they used to. We're cheaper, we're more powerful, boom, boom, done. They don't have that stuff anymore, so it's in their best interest, again, for the second year in a row, because the One X also came out and just blew people's minds with its power over the Pro. They bowed out then too. I think that's honestly why. It's just what they're going to go and they're going to show some stuff. They can't drop numbers because it's not as impressive. Everyone and their dog is paying attention to video games during that week, making comparisons to everything. So why not just pull yourself out? You can't lose the fight if you're not fighting. So that's really why Sony pulled out. And I think that's what a lot of people are worried about E3 dying. It's not. It's huge. It's very huge. I mean, when Sony's like, we're not going to E3, but we're doing hundreds of gaming events over the next year. What the hell does that mean? Can you name 20 gaming events, let alone 100 or hundreds? That means they're showing up to your local mall, your flea market, my backyard. Who gives a shit? Show up to the biggest show of the year. How about that one? Don't worry about these hundreds of nameless events that no one knows about or cares about your local community PlayStation reveal. E3 is huge. At the end of the day, it's huge. Geoff Keighley's avoiding it because he has something equally huge that he makes way more money off of himself, I feel. The rest of the press is just salty that you, me, and everyone else gets to go and partake now, so they have to share their click revenue. And Sony guys are just Sony guys and will downplay anything that PlayStation isn't a part of at the end of the day, which is unfortunately not all Sony guys. The zealots, of course, you know me. It's always with the zealots. But no, man, I'm hyped to see E3 this year. I'm bummed Sony's not there because that's just a lot of new games that we're not going to get to see. It's not dying. Geoff Keighley doesn't need to be there. He didn't bring anything anyways other than just him. Who cares? Yeah, that's that. Rant over.
Great point. Wilmy, I want to get your opinion on this because I love the fact that you are a business owner. So before I like your insight. Before I do, I have to thank Geezer1916 with the cool sticker that says "Keep it up" for the $5 super chat. Thank you for the generosity. Of course, Darsh Knight, dude. Hey, man, thanks so much for being here. He drops a $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He said, weekends here, people. Bleeding Edge better in just a Bleeding Edge beta in over an hour. Yeah, dude, I am so excited for that game. I know a lot of people aren't, but for me, it reminds me of that Capcom classic known as Power Stone, and I am very excited because it is going to be done by the fine folks at Ninja Theory. Elemental PO drops an additional $2 super chat. Thank you for the generosity, my brother. He says Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show are at the same place. Yes, in regards to size. Yeah, both of them are huge shows. A Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Enrique, thanks so much for the generosity of the $2 super chat. He says, boom, we are taking over E3 PC Master Race. Woohoo. Yes, you're going to see the coverage is going to be very professionally done. And it's going to be a lot of fun this E3. But Wilmy, listen, from a businessman's point of view, you have to go where the money is. And I don't necessarily think that it was money that is why Geoff decided to pull out. I think that that So Shady really kind of hit the nail on the head with him saying that himself, Geoff Keighley, has his own event, but he also has his own production company. And I still think, and even though this is not confirmed officially by Geoff yet or by Sony, that they're going to be doing something together for the announcement of the PlayStation 5 through his production company. Do you think Geoff Keighley not being there is a sign that E3 is dying, or someone else is going to step up to take his place?
I think all those small people are going to step up to take his place, and it's kind of like Shady said. He really didn't bring anything anyway. He's a personality, just like.
Well, they brought things to his event, like the publishers would come to his event to show off their games.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as E3, it's not a big loss, and there may be something in the works with Sony. Time will tell. We'll find out in the next few months. I say just slap Pauly Shore in there, to cover for him. And like I was joking yesterday on your show, throw Nickelback in. Who cares? But I'm going to E3. My room has been booked. I don't care if he's not there. I'm disappointed Sony's not going to be there because I was looking,
for sure.
For the PS5. Yes. But it's not really going to hurt E3. I really think that the data breach really did that for a lot of people last year. Because, Boom, you and I talk about this quite a bit. We're small YouTubers, and we get some crazy shit from people at times. I can't imagine, man, having millions of followers and, getting some of the stuff, that they would receive. And that may have a huge part in this. You may see a lot of people, that's always attended E3 not show up because of that data breach.
Yes.
Me personally,
they're nervous about their personal information, and I don't blame them.
And me personally, I see Bomber in the chat, and actually, Boom, I've sent you a few things I've received. You can't even be a neutral gamer,
right?
And not get hate from these. There's some lunatics, man, in social media, dude, on Twitter. I had a run in with a certain YouTuber. We won't have any, we won't give any names. This guy, man, actually tried to hack my Facebook account and all other types of shit to find out my real identity. And I actually got a call from LifeLock, because I have LifeLock on everything, and they blocked this guy,
man.
And a lot of people know who I'm talking about. He's been all over Twitter for the last few weeks. I'm not going to mention his name. And this all started because he played more games on his PlayStation 4 than I did. And that was the whole argument. And and that's what all this started. And it's, data's a crazy thing, man. And I just think that's going to keep a lot of people away. You don't want your real info out there. Nobody does.
Nobody.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a Sony fan. They get hate from the Xbox community. We're neutral. We get hate from everybody, so that makes it twice as bad. But I just think that's a huge factor in him not going. Does it affect E3? Not in my eyes, but we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be a huge thing, him not going.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. And certainly rounding out this incredible topic. Archimedes, I want to get to your opinion on this, but I have to thank Pizzle's Tech Time with the outstanding generosity for $2 super chat. He says he's going to PAX East for the first time. Dude, you are going to have so much fun. Take a lot of pictures, post a lot of social media stuff. PAX is great. And Smitty Smith, wow, welcome to the show, dude. I know you're always here. Appreciate you. We're always supporting Double Barrel Gaming. He drops a $5 super chat, and he says this: my man Shady don't want to smoke. He says don't want to smoke. He wants to hold. He wants to hold damn forest fire. That man is a national treasure. Salute you, brother. Thank you for that. And of course, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast drops an additional $5 super chat. He says, Wilmy, looking forward to locking Fork in a closet at E3. I'm bringing the duct tape. I think Fork might like it though. I don't know what that means. Maybe I missed something, but that is a scary disposition.
Fork is on my panel, and
I know who Fork Boy is. I don't know about the taping thing though.
Yeah, we've all been joking him that we're going to lock him in the janitor's closet during E3, and we're going to do it on a live stream.
Oh, okay. So, well, you'll definitely get some views for that for sure.
Because I've already said E3. Yeah, I'm walking around. I've got 4 pro cameras. I'm going to walk around and just live stream us putting this guy in a closet.
That sounds very interesting and probably a first for E3 2020.
At least it's not going in a bathroom, right?
No, that's very true. But Archimedes, I'm interested to get your opinion on this. Obviously, Sony's not going. A lot of these journalists are not going. And now, of course, one of the bigger names in gaming, in Geoff Keighley, is not going. Do you think that the loss of these media outlets, the loss of Sony, and the loss of Geoff Keighley are going to detract from E3 2020, or are the other companies now, even the smaller ones, going to get more shine because they're not battling some of these other big ones that have bowed out?
Yeah, well, I think Sony not being there is definitely an issue for E3. I'm not sure about Geoff Keighley. I mean, yes, he is a big name, and in his show, the Coliseum, he gets a lot of the higher ups. Yeah, he has Jim Ryan there, he has Phil Spencer there, he has or had Reggie Phil Ames there. He got them all, yeah, as an interview, and that of course will be missing. But I think someone else is going to step up. I mean, just recently, Giant Bomb had a huge interview with Phil Spencer, and then they just pick up and do that interview. I don't think that is a big of a deal. I'm really wondering if all these media outlets that are now skipping E3, will they not report on the games that will be reviewed?
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, I've seen Jay Fonzarelli bringing that argument up a couple of days ago on Twitter. Will they not be reporting on the new Assassin's Creed or the next Battlefield or whatever will be revealed
yeah,
there?
Right. As if, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course they will.
And they will make it their headlines, yeah. And they will always run off these news that come out of there. And for them saying, well, E3 is not relevant anymore, is something that I can't wrap my head around. I don't get that. I always love the E3 week. Yeah, you have all these conferences, all these interviews, and all these news coming out of it. And I'm sad to see Sony not attending there, especially with a new console and next generation launching. Yeah, I still don't understand it. But Geoff Keighley, yeah, well, he is just a interviewer. Yeah, one of the better known ones. But most of the gamers that really watch all the interviews and so on, they are so invested in social media, in YouTube and whatever. They have their other sources by now. And I think these big, huge media outlets are more for the casual gamers, yeah. And these gamers like us that are really invested in gaming, they have different sources by now. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of IGN either. I used to watch a lot of IGN stuff 10 years ago. Yeah, but at the moment, I'm not watching and listening to these kind of things. I go to the Boomstick, RDX, and other podcasts like that. Yeah, that is where I take my news off. And or for instance, I really appreciate the Seasoned Gaming homepage from Ainsley.
Yeah, I met him personally, him and his buddy last year from Seasons Gaming, and they're great channel, great channel, great guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so for me, it's not a big issue that Geoff Keighley is not attending. I'm more confused about that wave of news from the media outlets, and I will be surprised if we don't see a lot of hypocrisy there. Yeah, with them being all about the news that will be released there, but now reporting E3 is not relevant, and so. Yeah, I'll be watching everything from
Yeah,
E3.
no, that makes well. I'm certainly going to be. I mean, I watch as much as I report. While I'm there, it's. I put it to this way: it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun work, and you get to hang out with people. For me, the biggest thing of last year's E3, and I'm hoping that it repeats itself, was the community interaction. I got a chance to really meet so many unbelievable people from this community, and that is really what E3 was for me last year. I mean, sure, the event itself is fun and it's interesting and it's great to be there, but it's meeting the people on a personal level. That's where I'm looking forward to. But let me just say this: we are 2 hours and 10 minutes into the show, and I cannot thank the nearly 400 people we had watching today. That is unbelievably fantastic. And just proves that Double Barrel Gaming continues to grow. So, of course, I want to thank everybody that took the time to be here. I also immediately want to go to, of course, the panel so we can get everybody out of here because we are, again, 2 hours into the show. So let's get into the introductions, and we'll get everybody out of here and let them start their weekend. And we'll start off with Wilmy Hood. Wilmy, first of all, dude, knowing you as a person has been one of the highlights of my gaming career. Knowing that you're going to be at E3 and we're going to be able to meet in person in real life is something I'm very much looking forward to. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of pictures are going to be put up on social media, and we're going to have experiences that are going to last with us for the rest of our lives. But you yourself are a podcaster. You yourself are a content creator, and a damn good one, besides being one of the most generous human beings I personally know. I want you to tell people about where they can come and check you out on social media. Don't stalk this man because he will block you. I think he's already blocked 8,636 people.
Probably 21,218.
There you go. And but he is an amazing content creator, and he does have 2 incredible shows. Do me a favor, Wilmy. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media and check out your incredible YouTube channel.
Well, thank you, Boom. And you can find me on Twitter under Wilmy Hood. You can find me on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Epic Store, Nintendo. You can find me everywhere on Wilmy Hood, Facebook, Instagram. And you can also find me every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Gaming Beyond the Box, my YouTube channel, of course, is Wilmy Hood. And a couple of Sundays out of every month, we do the Horror Cast,
which is great.
So I'm old school slasher. I grew up in the 80s with all the crazy horror movies.
Yes, Evil Dead, baby.
Oh yeah, I've got so much shit in this office right now I'm sitting in. Man, it would creep out most people. I've got Freddy Krueger all over the place, Jason. But I'm into horror and gaming. That's my things, man. That's what I do. And if you guys get a chance, check us out on Wednesday nights.
Yes, well, thank you so much for being here, dude. Glad that we were able to get you on Breakfast with Boom. That you took
it was
today
good to
off.
finally make it.
Yes, and you weren't sick, so that's always good.
Yeah, last time I had what you've got now, and oh my god, it was terrible.
Yeah, well, trust me, I'm much better. I'm much better than I was, but that's why I canceled last Fridays because I couldn't even get out of bed. But thanks so much for being here, BitCloud. First of all, dude, it is always an absolute pleasure and an honor to work with you. You are you bring a lot of PlayStation goodness to this show, something that people have been asking for, and I'm glad that you're a part of it because even though you are more PlayStation centric, you do bring knowledge and respect for the other brands, and that's what I love about working with you. But you yourself have an incredible show that's going to be happening in just a couple of hours. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, check out your incredible Friday afternoon program.
Well, first of all, everybody hit that like button. Shout out to everybody on the show. It was great. Nice meeting some of you, or I think it was Archimedes. Yeah, that's the
Yes.
first time talking to him. So nice talking to him. Shady, always over the top as always.
That's what we love about
Will be
him.
Hood is always pleasure. And Boom, thank you again. Appreciate it. You guys can follow me on YouTube at Big Cloud Gaming, as well as Twitter, Big Cloud Gaming. 5 p.m. Eastern Time, RGT Podcast, episode 101.
Nice.
We're definitely about to bring a whole lot out here today and have a good time. So if you guys are interested, definitely come through. And yeah, it's going to be a good show.
No, can't wait for that. It's going to be great. And of course, I'm sure that all of this Bloomberg information that has been put out there is going to be top billing. Real quick, Aaron Johnson drops a $5 super chat. Thank you for being here, Aaron, and also for your generosity. He says Bloomberg has just reported that the PlayStation 5 will be more than the PlayStation 4 by $70. So I think we're getting closer to that $4.99 mark, folks. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but Bloomberg is reputable. And of course, so shady. First of all, dude, it is always, again, a pleasure and an honor to work with you. I love that you are raw. I love that you come to this show looking for to put, you don't push agendas, you push opinions, and they're your opinions and they're real. And even though people may not agree with them, you can't argue with someone's real opinion. And that's what I love about you. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you or fight with you on social media. And what other shows are you on, dude?
Oh, not a problem, Boom. As always, it was such a damn good time this week. I'm forever grateful for you to giving me a home on 2 of your shows. This
it
one
is my
being
pleasure,
one of them.
brother.
And then the other, of course, Monday, Primetime Gaming. I'm on there each and every week. BitCloud, my PlayStation brother, always fun. Wilmy Hood, it's always a good time whenever I get a chance to do a show with you, man. Archimedes, you nailed it on your first show, bro. Hope I get to do another show with you as well. To everyone that came out this morning, thank you so much. You power the show. You make it more than worth coming out and getting up at 6 a.m. to get ready for this each Friday. I love it. You guys are awesome. I am so shady on Twitter at the Sesh Empire. Stand up, hit that follow button, become an agent, get recognized. I love interacting with anyone that interacts with me. I just want to say, anyone who doesn't know, Bleeding Edge demo, the beta is actually going live in about 2 hours for anyone that pre-ordered the game or happens to be a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. I know I will be checking this game out myself in a few short orders. Brand new IP. I hear a lot of people screaming at the top of their lungs for new all the time. Well, we got a new game and we can play it today, and I'm looking forward to seeing what just is this online multiplayer focused melee class based game by newly acquired Ninja Theory. I'm not sure if it's for me, but I'm going to give it a shot. I hope that it is. So there's that. Yeah, man. Thank you so much again, everyone, for coming out. Happy gaming. I'll talk to you all soon.
Oh, thanks so much for being here, as always. And last, and in no way least, making his debut and completely knocking down the door, Archimedes. First of all, dude, you did absolutely fantastic. Super proud of what you brought to today's show. You should be super proud of yourself. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be here all the way from the other side of the world in Germany. Dude, I hope you enjoyed your first podcast experience. Of course, the chat was very welcoming, and you brought a lot to today's show. Do me a favor, dude. Tell everyone where they can follow you and reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, well, Boom, thanks very much for having me on the show. It was a blast talking about all the topics today. The panel was fantastic. Thank you, Shady, BitCloud, Wilmy. I had a blast on my first podcast. Well, people can find me on Twitter at Boxenberger. Yeah, and the same on Mixer. I recently started streaming there.
Very nice.
I stream every Sunday, 8 p.m. Central Europe time. Yeah, it depends on where you live. And yeah, I'm always very active on Twitter and in my Mixer chat, and I hope to see a lot of you there. Thank you again for having me.
Dude, it was an absolute pleasure, and you will be getting a return call to come back and hang out with us on Breakfast with Boom at a later date. Of course, I want to thank everybody, the nearly 400 people that tuned in to one of the more popular Friday morning breakfast shows. I don't know how many they are out there, but I'm very honored and extremely grateful that you find gamers take the time to hang out with me and my incredible panels that I put together each and every week. It is very, very humbling to know that you start your Fridays off listening to this show. Of course, the super chats have been nothing short of incredible, and the generosity still completely blows my mind. So once again, thank you for that. And of course, I want to close out today's show with two important factors that I like to say, and maybe gets a little long in the tooth, but it's how I live my life. One, treat others how you want to be treated. And the other thing that I was taught by my dad when I was a small little kid, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. Live by those rules, and I can guarantee you are going to have an awesome day. Once again, folks, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom. Have a fantastic weekend.